Hi, I'm glad to see you on my new series of videos. This video is gonna be about patterns. In general, we're gonna review it how to use in JavaScript, but the pattern such thing that is cross-language, and you can find the different realization of the one pattern in different kind of languages. So if you using not JavaScript but for example C#, you also could use this pattern, not this but some of the patterns, but with different realization. So in today's video we're gonna review the pattern which called Singleton. So stay with me and let's do it. So what is pattern, you would say? Pattern is the way to solve some common problem, and it solves it in concrete way. So if you face some difficulties and you know that some pattern would help you to solve it, you definitely need to use it. But you need to understand what benefits and like minuses you will get from it, and it's a good to know how to realize it. So pattern help us to do not invent something new, but it has a concrete realization in different languages, so you don't need to think days and days and how to realize it. What else is good to use pattern? It's that everyone developer should know how they look, and if some newcomers came to your team, it would be easier for him to understand, okay, here we see factory pattern or command, and I know how it works, so yeah, it's easier for him. Also, it's if you know some of them and could explain why it's good to use and why not, it could be help on maybe some reviews and etc. Also, these patterns like cross language you can use, and a lot of people knew about them. Also, they uh, your code will be understandable, and it's easier to prevent some regression from it. So a lot of pluses, but in some cases it could be minuses of it. In general, we have three groups of patterns. It's creational, structural, and behavioral. Each of them used in different ways. So for example, creational used to create some new object. The design, the creational patterns frequently used to in large applications. So to understand what advantages do you have between them, you need to work with each of them, to know their functionality and how they could help you. Before building a large application, you need to think about it and to understand in which place you might need some of the realization of patterns. So for example, creational patterns, it could be module, constructor, factory, and singleton. Also, for example, we have structural patterns, which we use to like sort objects, not sort, but to modify the behavior of object. A few of them it's decorator and facet. And also the third type is behavioral. It's about relationships between different objects. So it could be observer, mediator, and command. And that's it. Let's review our diagram. In general, to our class has access a lot of clients from different places and etc. If we will use, for example, TypeScript, we will have a class Singleton, for example, with name. It would have an instance property with which will be private and static. Also, constructor should be private, so no possibility to create a new instance from different places. And we should have property public and static get instance, no method, not property, public and static, which will check do we have an instance of our object or no. If no, then we create a new instance and return it back. But if we already have an instance of our object, we just return this instance. That's it. And it would be our realization. In TypeScript, it works a bit in another way. So let's quickly do it, what we can do. Also, we're gonna use module pattern, but we will discuss it next time. So, for example, we'll have class user store. I'm gonna use sandbox. Also, I have in Babel possibility to use dynamic import and export. So if you want to do it on local machine, you can just install Babel and run it. So I'm gonna use sandbox. Constructor, we're doing the next thing. For example, if user store instance null, then we're doing user store instance property has a link to our class instance, as you can think. So we're doing this here, and here return user store instance. So in general, if we don't have an instance of our object, we create one and return it. If we already have it, we don't do this and we just return an instance. That's it. That's what we have. And here we just add a new property data, so data, which will be our example, like this. Then, for example, we will have some business logic, add item, like this data push item and get value. It could be different cases where you need some business logic or something. This data find them where element equal to our value, like this. And here we do the next thing. We create an instance of our class. So we're doing new user store. Then we're doing object method freeze. It prevent from changing our class from different places. So it's possible to do the changes just here. Store. And then we're doing export default store. So and we have just one place where our instance exists and where we can modify our class. And here we do an import. For example, import store from store.js, and we doing like next thing, store add one more, and here store a new instance of store, but let's try to do it here. Const store one new user store. As you can see, we get an error. Not possible to do it. Let's take a look what we have in store 1. Store. Here we have store like this. Store 1. As you can see, the same instance of object, because it pointed at the same because, as you know, object works like by a reference, so it's linked to a piece of memory and they link it to the same piece. And even if you create a second instance, it will be pointed just in one place. So it's pretty useful, and I hope it would help you. That's it. We just checked how the singleton pattern is broken. I hope my video was helpful for you and you find this information useful in your future development process. And even if you don't know how to use it right now, do not push yourself to definitely that you need to use something, but it's always a good when you know something like this, and it might be the situation where you bam and understood that it's what you needed. So if you enjoy the episode, please press the like button, subscribe, leave a comment. I hope you will enjoy this video. See you. Bye bye.